So, I believe in reparations. I think if you enslave somebody, you owe them. And I think that the level of enslavement that our class culture has enacted upon African Americans and felons now, and everyone in mainstream prisons is a slave. My point is, we owe slaves something. And for law abiding citizens that didn't do anything, unlike people guilty of a crime that are slaves now because they are in prison, for law abiding citizens, we owe a lot. It is not okay to enslave people, and we must punish that behavior. If I found out about a trafficker that trafficked slaves, I would instantly report him and do my absolute best to make him pay reparations and come to justice from that terrible crime. One of the most disturbing parts of the show with Walter White, the meth dealer, was when Jesse was a slave of the gang, and he was held on a chain, and he was forced to make their meth for them to sell. That part was one of the most disturbing parts of that show for me. But I don't think that many people disagree with me about slavery. So why do I advocate for reparations so vocally? It is not so that black people think I'm cool, or so that I can get more credit from black people as a legitimate person. It really almost has little to do with them. I believe there should be a payment, cash payment, for people that were once enslaved. And I think that that's the best way to go forward, because if you make it more abstract, there is less connection and forgiveness that can be achieved by a gift. If you give somebody a community center, it becomes theirs, and it becomes one of their rights and one of their familiar things. Now, I'm a fan of that too, that's fine, but it's not reparations to me. If you give a community center and say this is for the slavery, then I think a lot of people could say, I could have built a community center if that's what I wanted. It should be up to me what slavery meant to me and my ancestors. It should be a little more personal, in my opinion. But of course, I think reparations can take multiple forms. I'm just arguing for a cash payment because I think that's one of the best ways. Why? Cash is king. We live in a capitalist world. China, a communist nation, runs on currency, even though they are communist. So isn't that just giving up the game? They don't like democracy because they don't really value the worker and the people's input, but the point is the economics of it. Capitalism was never about democracy. It was always about the structure of work and means of production being controlled by individuals rather than the people that operate on them. Anyway, that's a whole different can of worms, and I'm not opening it. I don't want to. I just want to say $20,000 is a huge deal. If you got $20,000 this year, this 3 years, that would make your year, your 3-year segment. I'm not saying that it's like legitimately making it okay that they were enslaved. I'm not saying that that's enough to make everybody happy, but I do think that it is a legitimate, very good, legitimate step to take in recognizing that slavery was wrong, that we never should have imported against their will and trafficked Africans into the Americas and put them to work, whip, and kill, and lynch, and restructure, and mind effery. Can't you see that reparations are a legitimate thing? Dave's ally? If you're really my ally, why aren't you on board for reparations? That's what my team is for. 20K for reparee. That's our chant. 20K for reparee. We will rep hooray. 20K for reparee. AM. I was going to spell American, but I'm not going to do it now because I've ruined the song. The chant is gone now. Why? Because Dave's ally is not an ally. You don't want me to lead a movement to get reparations to former slaves, to the descendants of former slaves. And this is not against white people. The reparations will come from a general taxing of Americans in general, because America has been racist as a nation in general and has been a slave-ridden nation in general for its entire existence. Also, just because you commit a felony, even murder and rape, you should not be put into slavery. Why? Slavery is a form of torture. Once you open those doors, why not just openly do brain surgery on death row inmates in order to find out more neuroscience? There's no reason why not. They don't count, right? No, they still count even though they've made a heinous mistake and their behaviors were awful. They still count as human beings. And we do not enslave human beings because it's not right to do so. Instead, we can put them to work in a job that they have some input over the details of. You know, the other thing about this is that they could be doing internet jobs for the government. Recognize this car, find this person, find this beard. There are plenty of internet jobs that can be partitioned into small tasks and distributed into computers that when you do them, you get more access to Wikipedia in your solitary confinement cell. There is no reason not to do that. That would not cost too much to at least have a pilot program. This is what Dave's allies are like. Not like that. We do not support racism. My allies don't. They don't. You want to call yourself Dave's ally, you need to recognize that I'm ideologically driven for justice. And justice to me means reparations. And that's real, man. It's real. So change your username, I guess, and change Dave's enemy. I don't want that. I wish I could convince you to be an ally, but I haven't and never will, I think.